Welcome, everyone. Guess what? You get 4 of us today. Whole slate full. We have the Schaefermeyers here, and we love these people. They have been heroes of ours forever. We worked with them a lot in our church opportunities to serve and professionally in lots of ways. And while you're watching, would you just tell us where you're watching from, and we'll get a chance to respond after the broadcast is over. Let's tell you a little about the Schaefermeyers.
Yes, they have served in so many callings, and we invite you to read their bios and get a flavor of this dedicated couple. We're going to talk today about a couple of their assignments, and the title says that they were surprised by these assignments, but they were qualified and they served so well. And we want to talk about them being mission leaders in Philadelphia. And we want to talk about them being president and matron of the
Jordan River Temple.
And serving now in the temple that's in Taylorsville, and about their family. And, as we get started, we'd just love to have the two of you tell about how you got started with serving the Lord together.
Okay.
This might be pretty romantic, so the rest of you just kind of dim the lights wherever you are.
Yeah. We're both from Vernal, Utah, and we dated kind of in high school. She was a sophomore, I was a senior. Then I went into the military, and we didn't get back together until I got back home from my mission. And we attended young adults together, and kind of one thing led to another.
I actually went on the mission with him because my picture was in his Book of Mormon.
Oh, and yay!
Even though he got rid of all the pictures of the other girls, I remained there to remind him, I guess.
Of course.
I love that.
I became his sweetheart just because I was in his Book of Mormon.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, what could be better than a picture in the scripture?
When I was in basic training, she sent me a letter with her picture in it. And there's a little Book of Mormon that they give servicemen that you can carry in your fatigue pocket. And I used that picture for a bookmark. And I took it with me on my mission, the book, not realizing that her picture was there. And one day I opened it. Oh, wow, this is my girlfriend.
Prophetic. See, you've been prophetic for a long time.
That's right.
Yeah. That's so fun.
And what year were you married?
What year were we married? 1968. We just celebrated our 60.
No, it was
1966. Sorry.
Yeah, because we have a child born in 1968. So he gets it.
And you have 6 children, 22 grandchildren, and 3 greats, right?
Right.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
I don't know if we'll ever catch up with the Andersons.
Luckily, it's not a race. So after all these wonderful experiences and all the things you've done, Sister Schaefermeyer, you've served in every organization of the church, and President has served in every organization, including stake presidency and being a stake president. But then came the time, right, when all of a sudden an invitation came to go serve in the mission field. What was that like? And maybe you could share some experiences, some of your favorite experiences. We were talking already that we have a son that's serving as a president back in Pennsylvania, right, where you got a chance to serve in Pennsylvania too.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about that experience.
Well, that's the first surprise. As a stake president, I knew that I was going to be released. So I interviewed my wife and I interviewed myself, found us worthy to go on a mission, filled out the papers, signed them, sent them off. And sure enough, with the signature of the president of the church, we received a mission call to serve in the South London mission.
Wow.
Now, who was president of the South London mission? Well, my good friend Lyle Shamo, who we worked with in the office building. He was on 3 years ago. We interviewed him.
Yes.
We just watched that interview.
Oh,
But
good.
so we were excited, and I called him, and we chatted about the assignment that he'd have us do. I got all excited about that, shared that with my wife. And then a call came from 240-1000, which is the
Just
church
number.
operator. And President Elder Neil Anderson, whom I'd worked with a lot in the audiovisual department, was now a member of the 12, wanted to meet with both of us. And I looked at my wife and said, uh-oh. And so we went in for that interview, which is, of course, a preliminary interview for, at that time, they were called mission presidents. By the way, just as an aside, I'm glad they finally changed that title to mission leaders, because I never knew what to call my wife. Companion to mission president, Mrs. Mission President, sister mission.
Yeah.
So now it's mission leaders. It's great. Anyway, so it was a preliminary interview to see if we were willing and able, and our life was of such that we didn't have any obligations that would tie us down or anything like that. And then the call came later. But that was a surprise. I said, Elder Anderson, you know, we've got a mission call already. He says, oh, that can be changed.
No worries.
And it was.
Yeah, it was.
Brother Shamel probably wept for a long time because you weren't coming.
Yeah, we had a conversation. I said, you're going to have to go this on your own. I can't support you in this call.
Wow. What was that like for you, Sister Schaefermeyer?
The calling was amazing. It was a little scary, I must admit, but at least I didn't need to learn a foreign language.
Yeah, true.
For that.
I kept teasing her that we'd be going to Africa or someplace like that.
But our mission was a mix of all kinds of ethnic groups. So in a way, I guess we did serve, especially in downtown Philadelphia, the wonderful people down there. They are just very young in the church, and they are amazing as they get up to bear their testimonies. Sometimes you are very surprised at how they bear them. And you kind of cross your fingers sometimes that everything's going to work out like it should. But it was a wonderful experience.
Mm.
Do you have a special memory from your mission service that you might want to share?
Well, I think probably the one that stands out the most to me is it was fairly early on in our mission. We went with 2 missionaries to the home of a group that about half of them really didn't want us to be there. Mm-hmm. And as I watched the father, as the missionaries taught, I could tell that he was feeling the Spirit. And afterwards, he said something to the effect of, this is the best day of my life. And it was just such a sweet experience and so powerful to see the workings of the Spirit and to appreciate those wonderful young missionaries as they taught and as they loved.
You just watch the scripture be fulfilled that the weak things of the world will thrash the nations. I mean, they are gifted because they don't know not to be. I don't know.
That's true.
It's just a miracle to watch the young missionaries.
And you had senior missionaries serve with you, right?
Yeah, we're going to talk about the senior missionaries.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to add another missionary story or two that just so remarkable to me. Since we're on Facebook, in one of the southern parts of the mission, our mission covered southern New Jersey, all of Delaware, southern Maryland, and half of Pennsylvania, and a little spot in New York. But yeah. I didn't know how much time we'd be spending in a car.
Yeah.
That was a surprise to me. But one day a family came into the branch where they were meeting on time, and obviously they were members of the church traveling in that part, because they frequently got visitors in that part of the state. And they came into the church all dressed. And finally, one of our good missionaries went up to them and said, "Hi, I'm Elder so-so, and you're?" And they said, "This is the first time we've ever been in a Mormon church." And he was shocked because they looked like members of the church and all dressed properly, like you'd expect members to dress. And come to find out, they were friends with a member on Facebook way down in the South. And
Wow.
the wife said, "You always seem to be so happy. Why?" And
Oh, I love that question.
because I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Well, what's that? And so they looked up the member in the South, helped them find the church in Southern Maryland, and they said, "Well, how do you dress when you go to church?" So they went out and bought clothes.
I love that.
And of course, the missionaries taught them, and the end of the story is they all joined the church. What a marvelous thing. And then
That's a great story.
I asked another guy, I said, how did you get to be a member of the church? And he said, "Well, my son had a friend who was a member of your church, our church, and he was going to be baptized, and he invited my son to his baptism. And I had to take my son." And go. I find myself getting kind of teary-eyed as I recount these things, but he said, "When I walked into the church, I felt something." And that's all it took. Yeah, marvelous.
Some young man extending an invitation to a friend.
That's right.
Watch the miracles, the ripples that happen. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
What an experience for all of us to remember.
Yeah.
Invite, right?
Yep.
Mm.
You just never know. Yeah.
Those are so beautiful.
So you said we're going to talk about senior missionaries. Let's hear that plug.
Okay. What do you think about senior missionaries, dear?
Well, we needed them. There was, excuse me.
Okay, when we got to the mission field, in the mission home, the mission office was run by young elders. We had one couple in there. And I said, "That's not why these kids have been sent out here. They've got to get out in the field where they belong." And even before we went, I started recruiting. Having been stake president, I started recruiting people from the stake and getting them to go. One was in a wheelchair. Wonderful, wonderful man. And the missionary department called me and said, "Do you know so-and-so?" "Yes." "Do you know his condition?" I said, "Absolutely." They said, "Can he serve?" I said, "Absolutely. Get him out here." Well, he was the finance officer in the office, and his wife took care of all of the supplies. And how can you do without them?
Yeah.
You can't. And another couple that came out with us was what we called the Karzar. Imagine, as a mission leader, I'm trying to use that term, as a mission leader, you've got 170 to 200 missionaries and 70 cars in a congested state where all of the roads are just crazy.
And under construction constantly.
Yes. And tolls everywhere.
Yeah. And so we had a couple come out, and we called him the Karzar. He was the one that took care of all of the cars and all of the repairs. And I mean, what could I have done without him? I couldn't. And And his wife was the mission secretary. She took care of all my appointments and all of the phone calls and all of that.
Oh, wow.
So you can't. I know that, and we kept recruiting. I had a former missionary companion way back when we were 19 call and say, hey, I saw that you got called as mission president. Can we come serve with you? By all means.
Come.
And I suppose that some of them were a little frustrated with me because they wanted to know what to do. And I said, I have no idea what to do because I've never been where I'm sending you. You get up there and with the Spirit figure out what to do. Well, we sent him to Susquehanna, the priesthood restoration site
Oh,
of
wow.
our mission. And we just sent him up there. He and his wife were just wonderful together. They worked with the community. They went to their Bible study classes, and he played the guitar, and they sang and entertained people. And when they got released, there was a big community party at one of the parks for them. Well, you can't.
How do you duplicate that?
Yeah, and how do you assign somebody to go do that?
No.
They figured it out. Okay, another man came, man and wife came. We sent them down to the southern part of the mission, and the same instructions. Some of them really expressed frustration when they didn't know what to do. I said, look, they need help down there in that branch. You go figure out what to do and help them. You're good members of the church. You've had all of this experience in your life. You go figure out what to do. Well, in his professional life, he was a basketball coach on the college level. And so he went to the local high school and says, do you need help? Well, yeah.
We could use help.
Matter of fact, we do.
And again, it's kind of hard to express that without tearing up a little, because when he left, several of the basketball players, disadvantaged kids, came up and said, would you please adopt us? So what a difference senior couples can make in the mission field. They don't have to go out and proselyte like the young missionaries. We don't expect that of them. They're much more free to come and go and attend to other family duties and that sort of stuff. I assume that some mission leaders are different and may be more directive than I was, but it was just, we depended on them so much.
And allow them to have the Spirit guide them is exactly what they needed in every case.
Well, you have these people that have all of this church experience, and you get them into a place where they have very little. And what a great help that they
Miracles happen.
Yeah.
We have thought a little about what it was like in Pennsylvania, especially Philadelphia, years ago when all those great signers were there. And one of our favorite stories is all of them appearing to Wilford Woodruff and saying, we gave our lives for freedom, and now we know freedom comes from covenants. Can you do our temple work? Mm-hmm. So it's very fitting that a mission leader couple that had served in this wonderful area would take their next step into the temple, right? I mean, isn't that just natural?
Yeah.
So you came home and got this other surprise calling, right?
Yeah, we did. By the way, we were so excited to hear that the temple was going to be built, and we were sure it was going to be built within the 3 years that we were there. When we left, it was a hole in the ground. We did get to attend the groundbreaking, and the Tabernacle Choir came to Philadelphia, and it just marvelous experiences. Of course, I knew all the crew that came with it.
Of course you did.
It was a great reunion.
Well, what a beautiful experience. And, like Scott was saying, here you get your next calling.
So we get home, and I get a call to meet with a stake president of a young adult stake. And okay, well, he needs a high counselor, he needs a bishop or something of that nature. And when he said, I have authorization to call you as the patriarch of this stake, you could have floored me. It was, talk about a shock. So you can kind of fake your way through in most callings, but not in patriarch. It changes what you read, it changes what you view, it changes everything, because you have to depend on the Spirit of the Lord to be with you. And then to have my wife called as the stenographer, it was just.
You two have had so many great experiences working together as a couple. That's such a blessing. Yeah.
And
I don't know how you explain what it's like to be a patriarch, but it's a great training and preparation for being a temple president, right?
that was the next surprise.
Yeah, Sister Schaefermeyer, what was that like for you when you got that calling?
Well, it definitely, we were not expecting it, and it came very quickly. We had been home for just how long? Just a few months. And so that was, and the Jordan River Temple, among the busiest, probably for many, many years, the busiest temple. And it was overwhelming, but what a privilege, what an honor. It really was.
Why I call this one a surprise is I got up one morning and on my cell phone was a message from the temple president. And so I called and said, what's this about? Well, he needs to meet with you within the hour. Well, this is 8 o'clock in the morning. We're just getting started. And so we go down there and we meet with him and President, and he was just chewing the fat. And I said, well, what do you want? I mean, why are we here? And he said, you have a meeting with President Eyring in 1 hour. Can you make it?
Well.
Oh, okay. What's that about? And he says, well, he's going to give you the sealing authority. No, will you accept? No, we're calling you. No, nothing. But, you know, in this church, when you make the covenant to follow the Lord, then you just do it. Okay? So we served there. Sharon was serving as an ordinance worker. That was just a few months. And then we lead tours for church history and Holy Land. And we were on a tour in Kirtland, headed toward Kirtland. We had just left Palmyra, and I was on the bus, and my cell phone rings, 240-1000.
That faithful number.
Uh-oh. So the secretary said, can you meet with President Eyring tomorrow at 2? And I said, well, I'm on a bus heading for Kirtland. I'm sure that I can find a flight out and be there tomorrow. Oh, no, don't worry about that. We'll postpone it for a week. Well, that's not a pleasant experience.
Sleepless nights.
What does he want us for? And so we went together. Of course, he wanted to see us both. And we've worked with President Eyring since he was Commissioner of Education, and doing quite well, and had a good chat. And finally he said, I call you to be the president of the Jordan River Temple and the matron of the Jordan River Temple. Well, here's the surprise. A temple president had already been called to serve as the president of the Jordan River Temple.
And you knew that?
Yeah, because it had been announced in the paper. And President Matsumorin, who we served with as fellow mission leaders. He was in DC and we were in Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah.
Knew him and his wife Vicky. It was just, and I knew that he had been called, and I thought, man, maybe it's going to be a thrill serving under him because he's such a good man. And President Eyring saw that I was a little bewildered by that, and then he said, "Oh, yeah, President Matsumori has terminal cancer and cancer." And boy, that was a shock, huh? So that's the other surprise.
Yeah, that's definitely a surprise.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Now, we worked with you so much, and you actually served for 5 years because of the construction. You retained your calling as the president, and that's unusual to serve for 5 years. But any experiences you want to share from your temple time, besides having our wonderful young adults in your temple?
Yeah. You have anything there that comes to mind?
What is a day like for a temple matron? Like, walk us through going to the temple. What do you do? What did you do?
Let me just say, there's places a temple president does not go.
Yes.
Well, can I just say that the temple would never have functioned without all of our wonderful coordinators. They have to know, first of all, the computer very, very well, and the system was always changing when we were first started. It hadn't settled into one that connected for the church. And so I guess what I could say is that you're there and you're striving to support and help the coordinators and hopefully resolve some of the issues that come up. There's some amazing and surprising things that do come that are very unexpected. And you just try to do it with love and understanding and bite your tongue once in a while. And sometimes the issues also are with some of the workers, helping them. It's a challenge for some of them to learn all of the verbiage and everything. And of course, we met once a week with all 3 couples in the presidency and worked through some of the issues that had arisen during the week. But it's all positive, and it's just an amazing experience.
So what's it like because you have a moment with first-time attenders where you get a chance to go visit with them and their escorts. That is such a sacred moment. I don't think people are more receptive or ready to listen at any time in the church than at that little moment.
And it's always amazing and wonderful to meet the brides who come, the ones who come to serve missions. But there were many who came because they were prepared. And as I was speaking with them, we never tried to differentiate between which ones were receiving them for what reason. But if I was aware that there was a girl who had come simply because she wanted to receive her endowments, I always said something to the effect that is the best reason for coming to the temple, is because you desire it. So
that's beautiful.
That was a very special experience to interact with the young sisters who came. And well, not always just the young ones. Sometimes had looked forward to it for years and years and finally were able to do so. And we had many that came who had special needs. We had those who were in wheelchairs, all kinds, the gamut. And each one had their own particular desires to be in the temple. So that was probably the pinnacle of the opportunity to serve.
And when issues would come up with sisters, it was such a relief just to go to my wife and say, "Dear, here's the issue." And she and her assistants were just so marvelous. I just depended on them so much to take care. And face it, there are more sisters that come to the temple than brethren.
Yeah.
And so they had to have a big responsibility that I don't think people quite realize. They look to the temple president as, having all of this to do, but the sisters. Um, it occurred to me, one thing that I ought to share is that when the word came that the sisters could serve as witnesses, that was a marvelous change. And so what happened with us, I was sitting right here working on the computer when it popped up on the news. And that's the first I'd heard about it. And I had the afternoon. We split the day in two. One of my counselors would take the morning, and then I'd take the afternoon, and then we'd split back and forth. But anyway, so I was due at the temple in the afternoon, and the first person that greeted me was the coordinator of the sealers. And he said, "President, I've heard that sisters can now serve as witnesses. Can we do that?" And I said, "I know what effective immediately means. Yes, right now you can do that."
Wow.
And then I went down to the baptistry. And there in the baptistry was a lady being baptized for no young people around. It was school time. And so they were baptizing, two brethren witnessing each of the baptism. So I walked in there, and over at the side was a sister that was handing out towels as the people came out of the baptistry, out of the font. And so I motioned to her to come over, and I said, "Would you trade places with this brother and be?"
I love it.
And she looked at me, and I said,
What?
yeah, it's authorized. Go ahead. And so she handed the towels to the brother and says, "You can pass out towels now." And through the glass windows was all of the other workers kind of gathered, looking astonished at that particular moment. And I went out and told them about the announcement, and what a difference that has made, especially where we work in the sealing office, because so many sisters come, and because brethren work and other reasons, they're not as able to come during the day to do sealings. And so to have the sisters do the witnessing, what a marvelous
thing. And to think that, now having priests be able to baptize in the temple, and all the young women that go and are witnesses, that whole thing. I mean, every time we try to get the baptistry, the youth are running the whole thing. Yeah. And they're busy, actively involved, and just remarkable to see how it's given them expanded opportunities to serve in wonderful ways.
Mm-hmm.
Well, may I just make a plea, as I do over and over again, for people to consider working in the temple. Now, many people don't understand it's a volunteer position. We had the tradition that you don't volunteer, you're called to something, but missionary work and temple work, you go to the bishop and say, "I'd like to work in the temple." And we need temple workers in every temple, especially on the busiest days of the temple, which is Friday and Saturday. And our temple in Taylorsville, under the direction of an inspired temple presidency, makes it so you don't have to work every Saturday and every Friday, and unless your circumstances is such that you'd want to. So there's many ways to serve.
You were telling me the turnover of temple workers every week, the average number. That absolutely stunned me.
Yeah. In the Jordan River Temple, we had a turnover of, on the average, of 30 workers a week.
A week?
A week. That meant that the temple presidency had to interview and call and set apart 30 workers every week just to keep us staffed.
And then train them.
Yeah, and then to train them. And we left that in the corner. Now, the Jordan River Temple is unlike any other temple because it is so large. and we have so many workers. When the temple closed, we released 4,200 workers.
I had no idea, and that's our temple.
Yeah,
Now it is.
Now it is.
right. Yeah, that's exactly right. And Taylorsville Temple, somewhat less than that, probably about half that. I don't know. I'm not in the know there, but it's the same issue. I've heard the temple presidency there saying, we just need more workers. So in every state conference we go to, what do we talk about? More
That's what
workers.
we talk about.
Yeah.
And then we need patrons. Some wonderful people just come every week on. I see the same ones in my sealing sessions every week. It's so wonderful.
It is so wonderful. Well, is there anything else? This has been so delightful.
Such a joy.
Is there anything you'd like to leave our viewers with as we close?
Well, we did talk about it a little bit earlier, the opportunity to be able to serve together.
Mm-hmm.
It has been a wonderful experience. I rely on him a lot, of course, and
vice versa.
so what a blessing. We didn't. I mean, everybody has their moments, but it has been a blessing in our lives to be able to serve together. We are blessed.
There's so much. There's so much. I just bear witness of the truthfulness of this great work. There is gathering on both sides of the veil, and it's unlike anything. One quick experience, we just welcomed one of our grandsons home from his mission in Chile yesterday. And when we went to the Salt Lake airport, where they come out was filled with people and signs. One sign I'll remember is, "I've waited 2 years. You hugged me first."
And hopefully it was the mother holding the sign.
And I had this overwhelming, beautiful feeling of how this army of young people going out and coming home. The Lord's work is true. And then I go to the temple. We'll be going to the temple later today. I go to the temple and feel that overwhelming peace and joy. Man, this is the work of the Lord.
Don't you just feel like that experience you had at the airport is similar to what happens on the other side of the veil when someone comes home? It's just like they're all there with signs saying, "I've waited 40 years."
Yeah.
It's just so beautiful to see the entirety of the sealing power and how it binds us together forever. And I remember, in fact, it was Brother Shamo, I think, that told me one time when he was visiting with President Hinckley, he was talking to him about what he remembered most from his service. And he said, "The most important thing to me is protecting the sealing keys because of the significance of this thing that binds people together forever." And that must be such a sacred, beautiful experience to watch that happen. You're going to do it later today. Use those sealing keys that are under the direction of the president of the church to work this wonderful miracle.
Yeah.
I don't think young couples can comprehend, no matter how hard they try, the significance of what happens in that moment.
Yeah. Well, I could go on and on about stories.
So great.
We need to have you on again.
We'd love it.
Thank you
both so
much
much
for being with us today. And please, to our viewers, share this wonderful interview. And thanks again, Schaefermeyers. We love you.
And we just add our witness that there is no question both sides of the veil are very uniquely involved in this magnificent work. We're about ready to go into Pioneer Day. We just finished 4th of July. In the midst of all those moments, we think about all those that have gone before and how significantly they are involved on the other side of the veil too. So let's move the work forward.
Yep.
And we leave that in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. It's so great to be together.